zone 2 training, threshold training, intervals, Norwegian method, heart rate variability, maximum heart rate, 5 zones, 3 zones. All the running advice on YouTube and social media is about training methods. But there is one very important piece of information that is missing. You know, being consistent for 12 weeks, for example, of a training block is not a training method problem, but it's a behavioral and mental problem. So in this video, we will talk about that. I'll explain what are the best strategies and methods for you to be consistent and finally understand how much you can improve in 12 weeks. Especially on YouTube, I've looked and I couldn't find any advice about how to enjoy your training program without feeling trapped, how to progress in a way that make you feel happy, satisfied, and in a way that you can really see the weekly improvement, weekly progress, so that over the long term you can reach your goal. So let's see together how much you can improve in 12 weeks. But why you should listen to me? Well, I'm not the strongest runner in the world, definitely not. But given my psychological and behavioral science background, then I can really help you to figure out how you can make your training consistent, enjoyable, and finally achieve your goal. See, if you're new to running or you're just started your running journey, the main problem for beginners, new runners, is to actually stick to a training plan. So it doesn't really matter if you find your, latest trend or what is your main training methodology. The most important aspect is that you should be consistent in your training and stick to your plan for a period of time long enough for you to see progresses and to start enjoying the process of improving. I've always been an active person. In my youth I've played many different sports, mainly football. And then in the last 10 years I've been much more involved with CrossFit, functional training and endurance training. Especially in the last 3-4 years I've been more consistent. But the problem is that whatever training program I was doing or for whatever event I was training, the common challenge, the common problem was to stick to the plan. So let's see together through behavioral science, how you can optimize your training, how can you make your training enjoyable, and how can you actually stick to your training program without being trapped and without feeling guilty if you're not following the training program perfectly. I ran my first marathon in 2018 in Copenhagen. I did it in around 4 hours, but that was a terrible experience. I wasn't really prepared or ready. I decided never again. But then, of course, after a few weeks, I said, yes, maybe I can try again, but this time with a better approach. So I started to get a bit more into endurance training, also coupling that with CrossFit and functional training and strength training. But I became more serious 3-4 years ago when I started to do more half marathons. But then I was ready, I was hooked, and I signed up with a friend to the Ironman 70.3 in Helsingør, which I finished with a time of 5 hours and 20 minutes. And that was a great experience. I completed all 3 legs of the sport with my personal bests, 40 minutes for the swim part of 1.9 kilometers, 2 hours and 45 minutes for the 90 kilometers bike leg, and I finished with my best ever half marathon of 1 hour and 42 minutes. I'm definitely not the strongest or fastest guy, but that was a good experience. It was a good result, and I managed to achieve it only because I was able to stick to my training plan. So let's see my preferred 3 principles based on behavioral science that you can use to improve in your running, in your training, and to really understand how much you can improve for the next training block. First principle, sustainability. You need to follow a plan that is sustainable. We're not professional athletes, we're fathers, husbands, we have jobs, we have friends, we have things to do that are way more important than a personal best in a marathon. But still, we want to make a plan that is challenging, but most importantly, should be sustainable. So the problem is, how do we make the plan sustainable? well, we avoid the psychological trap or the psychological schema of black and white thinking. You know, there is a lot of shades of gray in between black and white, and we need to explore those shades. So for example, if your training plan has 4 running days per week, then you can plan to run 6 times per week or 5 times per week. And then maybe something will happen, some unexpected circumstance, event, or maybe your kids get sick. Whatever happens, you can still skip 1 session, maybe 2 sessions, but you will still be able to execute the majority of your runs. So in my case, I try to run 6 times per week, but this basically almost never happens. So in a perfect week, yes, I can do 6 runs, but honestly, I do an average of 4 or 5 runs per week. But these allow me to skip a session without feeling guilty, or rearrange a session if I need. So be flexible, adapt, and don't think black and white, but go explore those colors in between. Hey, if you're finding this video useful so far, please let me know. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, ask me anything. I'll try to help you as much as possible. And let me know in the comment what is your experience with sticking to your training program. Principle number 2 is train with a 80-20 mindset. And I'm not talking about the 80% of your run should be easy and 20% should be hard. I'm thinking about 80-20 mindset, meaning that the 80% of your results will come from 20% of your activity. So you should focus very much on this 20% and make this 20% of your training plan non-negotiable. For example, in my training plan, I have 1 interval session, hard session in the middle of the week, usually on a Wednesday, and I also have a long run in the weekend. I know that for me, for my enjoyment of my training plan, those 2 runs per week are those that drive the most results, are the 2 runs that I enjoy the most, and therefore they're non-negotiable. If I need to skip a session or change my plan, I will not skip these sessions. So for example, if I get busy on a Wednesday, I push the session to the following day, and I try to prioritize this session rather than skipping the session altogether and then 1 or 2 days after doing an easy run or maybe some cross training. So 80-20 mindset principle: make these 20% sessions of your training plan the one that you enjoy the most, the one that drive results for you the most. Make them non-negotiable. Principle number 3 is achievable and challenging progress. Goal setting theory helps us to understand how can we define goals, and especially how to structure plans to achieve our goals. And one of the most underestimated aspects of this strategy is to reduce the long-term goal into small manageable goals that will allow you to see your progress. So there are 2 very important aspects here. One is the challenging progress. So you need to challenge yourself every week just a little bit more than the last week. The challenge should be achievable, meaning that if you do a workout and you finish the workout strongly, the interval session well executed, you will be ready the next week to challenge yourself a little bit more. This weekly increase in the challenge will allow you to show your progress, will allow you also to see that you're progressing. So not only you will be able to perform better, but you will see that you're progressing well and that you're improving, and that gives a lot of motivation, a lot of engagement, a lot of satisfaction, and a lot of enjoyment in the process. There is another aspect to it. You need to make those workouts, those improvements achievable. You can't raise the bar too much every week. So the challenge has to be just a little more intense or difficult than the one that you achieved in the past week. You can do 1 interval more, or just go a few seconds faster. 2 or 3 seconds faster is enough. Or maybe you can reduce the rests in between intervals just about 5 seconds rest. So this will ensure that you won't overtrain, that you won't overdo, and that you won't put too much stress on your body. And this will make the program sustainable, beyond enjoyable. So around 1 month ago, I've run my best marathon. It was the 2026 Rome Marathon, and I ran the marathon in 3 hours and 40 minutes. I managed to do that without stopping. It was a great experience. I reached my goal, and I did it only because I followed those steps. But now I want to do more. I really I dream of running a marathon in under 3 hours. But to do that sounds pretty impossible and unrealistic right now. But let me show how these 3 principles can make this goal achievable in the long term. So for me, it's very important to make this goal realistic, something that I can truly believe I can do. And to do that, first I need to be able to run a sub 19 5 kilometers. Now, 1 week ago, I did a little test, 5 kilometers run, hard effort, not all out, but like threshold pace. And I did it in around 23 minutes. Sub 19 minutes on a 5K run doesn't feel impossible. It feels quite honestly achievable and a good challenge to take on for the next few weeks. I'm just finishing my first week of training. I did my hard session in the middle of the week. I'm planning a longer run during the weekend, and I managed to run 5 times this week. So through this process, I'm sure that I can reach my goal of sub 19 for 5 kilometers. And if I stick to my 12 weeks training block, then who knows how fast I can go, how quickly I can improve. And who knows how quickly you can improve if you stick consistently to your training program based on this principle. Like the video and follow me to discover if I can make it, but most importantly, try to follow this principle, and let's see how fast you can go and how fit you can be in 12 weeks of consistent training. Get after it.